Hello everyone, it's November the 1st. Let's get on to it. Minimum genetic mutation. A gene string can be represented by an 8-character long string. ACTG, yeah? We need to investigate a mutation from a gene string start to a gene string end, where one mutation is defined as a single, it's got a SNP, single nucleotide polymorphism. Changing genes, so this and this, we can see the change is the last one, right? There's also a gene bank that records all the valid gene mutations. A gene must be in the bank to make it a valid gene string. Given the two gene strings, start and end, and the gene bank, return the minimal number of mutations needed to mutate from start to end. If there is no such mutation, return -1. Note that the string starting point is assumed to be valid. So this is the same problem as we had with the other one, the one we did back then with the ladder also jumps. Yeah, this is the same as the other one, the jumping, right? The word ladder. So I'd expect we can solve it using similar methods. But you have to go through whatever is inside the bank, right? Otherwise, it's not a valid mutation. The starting point is assumed to be valid, so it might not be included in the bank. So the end is inside, and then as long as there's one difference, that's valid. The minimum number of steps, so it's a graph, we just need to traverse it. We're gonna start with here, we just need to see, oh, there's a way to, damn, I forgot what is the way to quickly identify if the two missing just by one. So with this two, this has to be in it, right? If the end is not in it, then that's a no-go. Bank length is 8. I think let's make this, I'm not sure, because they never say the end, is end valid or not? Usually the end has to be inside, so I can actually tweak it. Let's say I tweak this into an A, right? So I say this can go here and this can go here, and see what they say. They probably say -1, then we know it's, yeah, so it has to be inside. So yeah, so we just build a graph. So we have the start to see what they lead to, and then this to see what they lead to, and we just do a BFS, right? So we have a start, and then we have a bunch of things as the bank. And first we have, of course, we need to check, and the length is only 10, so we can check if the end is in it. If it's not in it, it is -1. If it is in it, then the start we can go to whatever, and then for this we try to go to whatever, right? And after this, we don't go to the ones already in it. Maybe we don't have to, we can just brute force, right? Things already, yeah. Is the same as the other one. Shoot. Okay. If and not in bank. Okay. Then we just say q equals start. 0 to 0. So while q temp for g in q, right? G is equal to end, then return res. Otherwise, oh, I have visited. Okay. And then, for B in bank, no, we just go through the same thing. But if something has been, yeah, that's too complicated. It's fine. If B not in visited and differ by 1 is diff by 1. How do we handle this? Check if the two are differ by 1. And the length is definitely, yeah. So we're just gonna go one by one and see if they diff by 1. Is there any easier way to do this? I don't know. Diff by 1. Oof. Diff by 1. Sum. Let A minus equals letter B. Right, we int this LALB and zip AB if sum of this equal to 1. Nah, not equal to. Right, it has to only be 1. So we say and self dot is diff by 1 GB, then temp dot append B visited add B. Okay, sorry. Keep going. Actually, if every time we do this, we can remove it from the bank. If you think about it. But it's fine. I'm too lazy. And then we say q equals temp res plus equal 1. Actually, yeah. And then we visit this, and then if we come out, then we're going to return -1. That basically just means we cannot do it. Okay. Is it yesterday was also BFS or some other day? I don't remember. Start and bank. Looks good. Oh, wait, done it before. Oh, we haven't done it before. But it means it's a different solution. And when did we do it? 2022. Oh, 10 months ago. All right. This is the same as word ladder. Build a graph and then BFS. ON, right? Because everything is visited once. Oh, yeah. Turn it into a set. Hey, that's actually a good idea to turn it into a set. Oh yeah, this is the one. But it's fine. I use this as the same thing. But we can remove duplicates. Yeah. Remove duplicates. Let's remove duplicates. Maybe it'll be faster. Maybe what we can also do. I don't know. Turn bank into a set to remove any duplicates. Maybe. Did I actually build? I think I actually built a graph the first time I do this. Just take a look. Okay, that's done. All right, let's go back to this one. We passed yesterday, but I said I need to analyze it again. 15 test cases this time. 14 test cases. Yeah, I built a graph. Jeez, come on, man. All right, so here's the idea. First, turn all the other values in stones to remainder after divided by 3 and get their count. Now, we know that for A to play optimally, she cannot take 0. Then the problem becomes taking 0, 1, 2 in turn to avoid coming to a multiple of 3. So she only has 2 choices, either 1 or 2, provided that they exist, right? Say A takes, if there is no 1, right? If there is no 1 or 2, A loses, because she has to take 0. If 1 exists and A takes 1, B can take then it is safe. Then to prolong the game as much as possible, both A and B have to take 0, because it is always safe. If we have even number of zeros, no matter who takes 0 first, right? No matter who, if B takes 0 first, if B takes 0 first, right? B will also have to take the first value after all zeros are exhausted. If B forces A to take 0 first, right, then A will take the first value after all zeros are exhausted. I don't like this explanation. We can have one, right, 1, 0, then 1, 2, 1, 2, right? 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, because we have even number, and then 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. All right. Or B takes 1, the A takes 0. All right. And then A has to take 2, and then this. So thus in either situation, after zeros are exhausted, A always has to take and B always has to take 2. Now A always has to take 2. A take 2. B always has to take 1. Right? Thus, if we want A to win in this scenario, we must force B to take 2, which means there has to be more 1s than 2s. Hence, if A takes 1 and the number of zeros is even, forces more 2s than 1s. Yeah. A is guaranteed to win if there are more 2s than 1s minus 1. Right? I'm actually going to counter. Let's put the count into a counter C. Right? If we have C2 larger than C1 and C2 larger than C1 minus 1. Shouldn't just be C2 larger than C1, right? Yeah, A takes 1 first. A takes 1 first, so B is taking 1, A is taking 2, so we want more 2s than A. So in this situation is minus 1. Oh yeah, C1 minus 1, and this situation is minus 1, minus 1. So we have to minus these two, right? No, because B is taking 1, A is taking 2. B is taking 1, A is taking 2. No, this is the same. This the 1, the 1 being minus is to remove the first choice of A. Similarly, if 2 exists and A takes 2, we have and there are even number of zeros. We have right, so I take 2, then B has to take 2, and then be 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Or A take 2, B has to take 2, and then A has to take 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1. Right? To ensure that A wins, there has to be more ones than twos. Hence, A wins if we have C1 larger than C2, but we have to minus the first two. Right? The y in the minus is to remove the first choice of A. Now, if the number of zeros is odd, the situation is a bit more complicated. If 1 exists and A takes 1, we have actually it's the same. We also have two scenarios, right? And if we have, right, so the first one is 1, and let's say we have even number, odd number, then B choose take 0, right? 0, 0, 0. So B takes 0. So here, A can take 1 or A can take 2, right? A can take 1 or no, A has to take 1. Or B take this and then B has to take 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1. Right? So in both cases, it's the same. B is always 2, A is always 1. So A wins if we have, so we need to have more, yeah. So B more ones than twos. That is C1 larger than C2, but C1 has to minus 1. Yeah. The minus 1 is to count for A's choice, first choice. If the number of zeros is odd, and if 2 exists and A takes 2, we have, so A takes 2, right, and then we have 3, and then A has to take 2, right? If A takes 2 and B takes 2, then B here has to take 1. So A always take 2, B always take 1. So A wins. No. No. We have A is 2, B take 1. Now B take 1. And here B take 1. Oh yeah, B take 1. A wins if we have more 2s than 1s. Yeah. That is C2 is larger than C1, but C2 have to minus 1. Right? Minus 1 is to count for A's first choice. Okay, these are all the situations. So we do this, right? If it's even, then we say A wins if C2 larger than C1 minus 1. If we have 1, if we have 2, then it's 2A take 2, then C1 larger than C2 minus 1. C1 minus C2. Otherwise, if both exist, then either 1 or 2, right? And if C1 is equal to 0, otherwise, so this is a situation where number of 0 is odd, right? If it's odd, if it takes 1, then it has to be C1 minus 1. Say minus 2. To me, minus 1 is enough, because if we go minus 1, because this AB, right? And this is the same. If you're minus 2, if you're minus 1, right, we have B. Oh, it has to be minus 2 because B is taking different. Ah, my bad, it's actually not right. I have more ones as a C1 minus 1 and C1 minus 2 larger than C2, right? And minus 2 is to count for A and B's, A's and B's first choices. This amounts to C1 minus 2 larger than C2. Yeah, that's more accurate. Alright, here's the same. So we can remove A, then it's 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Right, so we need just more 2 than 1, which is minus 1. But this B is 1, B is 2, right? Then we say and C2 minus 2 larger than C1. This amounts to C2 minus 2 larger than C1. Therefore, we take 2, C2 minus 2, and then this, yeah. Can take either 1 or 2. Okay, so that's that. Let's put explanation there. Okay, this is a weird explanation. I don't know why it takes so long, right? I guess it's fine. Doesn't really matter how long it takes. It'll take ON. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because 0 is also even. hold on. If this is equal to 0, this is not going to happen. Which means I think we don't need to do this. Because C1 is 0. How can 0 larger than? Because C2, right, the minimum is 0. But we also say it's not going to be 0. So it's going to be 1. So this is definitely going to be false. And same with here. Oh, this one's different. This one just say if C1 is 0, I just need to be dashed in 0. C2 is 0, it should be 0. Otherwise we do, yeah. Oh, that was wrong. How? Then it should be and, right? Because if C1 is 0, this definitely holds. If C2 is 0, then this definitely also holds. So, but if C1 and C2 both exists, then I just want one of them to hold. Which means if C1 is equal to 0, I'll have to take C2. And if A takes C2, then A will definitely lose, right? Yeah, if C1 is 0, A will lose. If C2 is 0, A will lose. It's only if C1 and C2 are not 0. If C1 and C2 are not 0, then we can say C1 larger than this. If C1 larger than this, or C2 larger than this, C1 larger than this and C2 larger than this. If you think about C1 larger than this, if C1, basically we say C1, this is what, let's write it down. So this basically is C2 minus C1 smaller than 1, or C1 minus C2 smaller than 1. If it's smaller than 1, that just means equal to 0. No, smaller than 1 can be smaller than, it can be a negative, right? It could be negative. Smaller than 1 is smaller or equal to 0. Smaller or equal to 0. So we're saying C2 smaller or equal to C1, or C1 smaller or equal to C2, which means it doesn't really matter. Ah, that is the case. Simplify, right? Well, we see that if C0 is even, when C1 is equal to 0, if C1 is equal to 0, it is impossible to have C1 minus and larger than C2 minus 1. Right? Similarly, if C2 is equal to 0, it is impossible to have C2 larger than C1 minus 1. Thus, for A to win, C1 and C2 must not be 0. On the other hand, must both not be 0. On the other hand, C1 larger than C2 minus 1 is equivalent to C2 minus C1 smaller than 1, which is equivalent to C2 minus C1 small equal to 0. Similarly, C2 larger than C1 minus 1 is equivalent to C2, C1 is smaller equal to this. C2. This means as long as C1 and C2 are not both 0, any value of C1 and C2 will work to let A win. So we can just say return C1 times C2 is larger than 0. So if C1 is 0, we just need to this minus this is larger than 2. Or this minus this is larger than 2. Right? So if C0 is even, is odd, we see that A wins if C2 minus C1 is larger than 2, or C1 minus C2 is larger than 2. Right? If C1 is equal to 0, then C2 minus 2 larger than C1 always holds. Similarly, if C2 is equal to 0, C1 minus 2 always holds if C2 we see that having C1 equal to 0, that C1 is 0 or not does not affect the outcome. Or C2 is 0 or not does not affect the outcome. Thus, we only need to ensure either C2 minus 2 larger than C1 which is equivalent to C2 minus C1 larger than 2, or C1 minus 2 larger than C2, which is equivalent to C1 minus C2 larger than 2. Hence, the condensed version is ABS C1 minus C2 larger than 2. Okay. Yep. Yeah, the coding is not difficult. The difficult part is the reasoning. And I don't even need this. Right? Because if anyone is 0, this will, and then larger than 2, this will be false. Yep, that's the condensed version. Okay, that's that. Let's pick another one. Nah, I don't want to do another one today. Oh, now we're trapped. Now we are trapped. I'll have to do this one next time. Alright, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Adios.